In a small village nestled between rolling hills and a winding river, there lived a young man named Kofi. He was the son of a fisherman and had spent much of his childhood learning the ways of the water. From a young age, Kofi knew how to cast a net, row a boat, and catch fish with skill and precision. But as he grew older, he realized that there was more to life than just surviving day by day. He longed for something bigger, something that would bring purpose to his life. Kofi's dreams were big. He wanted to build a fishing business that could feed his village and the neighboring communities. He envisioned a fleet of boats, skilled fishermen, and a market where he could sell his catch. He dreamed of turning the small, humble river into a bustling center of trade and activity. But as with all big dreams, the road to success was not easy. Kofi's first major setback came when a violent storm struck the village. It came without warning, with dark clouds swallowing the sky and the wind howling like a wild animal. The villagers scrambled to secure their homes and boats, but it was too late. By the time the storm passed, Kofi's boat, along with several others, had been torn apart by the waves. The nets he had carefully woven over months were destroyed, and much of the fishing gear was lost. The devastation was overwhelming. Kofi stood at the river's edge, looking at the wreckage, feeling as if his dreams had been swallowed by the storm. He had worked so hard, had saved every penny, and now everything seemed to have disappeared in an instant. It felt like he had lost everything. But even in his despair, Kofi heard his father's voice in his mind, "Life will always test you, my son. It will try to break you. But remember, it is in the darkest moments that your strength is born. You must rise, no matter how hard you fall." Kofi knew his father was right. He couldn't give up now, not after coming this far. He began the long process of rebuilding, working tirelessly to repair his boat, to mend his nets, and to gather the strength to continue. The storm had taken much from him, but it had not taken his will to succeed. Slowly, but surely, he began to rebuild his dreams, piece by piece. Just as Kofi's business started to recover, a new challenge emerged. This time, it was a drought. The river, which had once been full and flowing, began to shrink. The water level dropped, and the fish, which had once thrived in the river, became scarce. Kofi's catches grew smaller and smaller, and he found himself struggling to make enough money to feed his family. Once again, Kofi felt as if life was slipping away from him. He had worked so hard to build something out of nothing, only to watch it slip through his fingers. The villagers, too, were worried. The drought was affecting everyone, and there seemed to be no end in sight. People began to lose hope, and many turned to other forms of work, abandoning the fishing industry altogether. But Kofi refused to give in to the despair that gripped the village. He had seen the power of perseverance in his father's life. His father had built his fishing business from the ground up, working day and night, and Kofi knew that he could do the same. He began researching new techniques for fishing in low water levels, exploring new places to cast his nets. He learned about fish preservation methods and ways to attract more fish to his nets. Through hard work and dedication, Kofi was able to sustain his business. He didn't catch as much as before, but he caught enough to keep going. The drought, though difficult, had taught him a valuable lesson. Even in the toughest times, there is always a way forward, as long as you are willing to fight for it. Just when things began to settle, another blow came. A new market had opened in a nearby town, and it offered better prices for fish. The people of Kofi's village began to sell their catch there, and soon, Kofi found himself losing customers. His market, once bustling with business, began to shrink as people flocked to the new market for cheaper, fresher fish. Kofi's heart sank as he watched his customers leave. It seemed as if every step forward he took was followed by 2 steps back. His business, which he had worked so hard to build, was once again on the verge of collapse. But Kofi wasn't one to give up easily. He thought long and hard about what he could do to compete. Instead of focusing on the competition, Kofi decided to focus on what made his business unique. He knew that his fish were some of the best in the region. They were fresh, and he had built a reputation for quality and reliability. So, instead of lowering his prices to compete with the new market, Kofi decided to build stronger relationships with his customers. He spoke with them, learned about their needs, and even started offering delivery services for those who couldn't make the trip to the river. It wasn't easy, but gradually, Kofi began to see his business pick up again. The community trusted him, and they respected the quality of his work. Through patience and persistence, Kofi had weathered yet another storm. He had learned that life would always throw challenges his way, but as long as he remained determined, there was no challenge he couldn't overcome. Just when Kofi thought he had faced every challenge life could throw at him, he was betrayed by someone he had trusted deeply. One of his closest friends, Kwame, whom he had taught the ways of fishing and business, turned against him. Kwame had been struggling in his own life and had seen Kofi's success as an opportunity. In a moment of weakness, he convinced several of Kofi's customers to buy from him instead, promising them better prices and better quality. Kofi felt devastated. The betrayal stung deeply, and for the first time, he felt a wave of anger and frustration flood over him. It seemed as though everything he had worked for was falling apart. He had trusted Kwame, and now it felt like his world was crumbling around him. But instead of allowing anger and bitterness to consume him, Kofi took a step back. He realized that sometimes, the people you trust can let you down. But that didn't mean that life was over. It simply meant that he needed to find a new way to move forward. Kofi continued to work hard, focusing on his business and doing his best to serve his loyal customers. He learned that betrayal, while painful, was not the end of the world. In fact, it was a lesson in resilience. He could either let it break him or use it to fuel his drive to succeed. Through all these challenges, Kofi learned one of the most important lessons of all: life will always change, but it is your ability to adapt and persevere that will define your success. Years passed, and Kofi's business grew stronger than ever. He had learned how to navigate the storms, how to face the droughts, how to build relationships with his customers, and how to rise above betrayal. His dreams of building a thriving fishing business were no longer just dreams, they were his reality. Kofi became known not only for his skill in fishing but also for his unwavering spirit. People came to him for advice, for guidance, and for inspiration. He had become a symbol of resilience and determination, showing others that no matter how many times life slips away from you, you always have the power to rise again. Kofi's story teaches us that life will never be easy. It will challenge us, test our limits, and sometimes knock us down. But it is in those moments of struggle that we find our true strength. Perseverance, resilience, and grit are what will carry us through the toughest times. Failure is not the end, it is simply a stepping stone on the path to success. Every time you think life is slipping away, remember that it's not over, it's just a new opportunity to rise stronger.